Hello and welcome to this episode of Geography Girl. Today I'm taking a really deep breath and diving into the world of the ocean's digital twin, which is a concept that's being worked on around the world. Before we get started, if you're not subscribed already, what are you doing? Make sure that you subscribe. I make new episodes every Tuesday, and make sure you hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a thing. Today's episode heavily leans on an article by Tazor et al. On digital twins, a stepping stone to achieve ocean sustainability. I'm basically reading it back to you, but I will link it in the notes if you want to have a gander yourself. Oceans and the ecosystem services they yield are fundamental to human life. They provide between 10 and 20% of the world's population with livelihoods and support 3 billion people with protein from seafood. They regulate the Earth's climate by absorbing 30% of carbon dioxide produced by human activities and serve as a home to a diverse array of flora and fauna with an estimated 230,000 marine species described to date. Yet, humans are persistently degrading, destabilizing, and debilitating ocean systems. Marine environments are polluted with waste, chemicals, oil spills, invasive organisms, and particulates. There are currently 5.25 trillion pieces of plastic in the world's ocean, growing at 8 million tonnes per year. The ensuing degradation of marine habitats such as coral reefs and mangroves has grave consequences for the plants and animals they support. Indeed, 10% of global coral reefs, which house 25% of marine species, have been destroyed and another 60% are at risk. Overfishing, accounting for 25% of global seafood production, and climate change, which exacerbates ocean acidification and circulation pattern anomalies, are threatening marine life further. So, can a digital twin pave the way to ocean sustainability? The concept of the ocean's digital twin refers to a highly advanced virtual representation of the world's oceans, designed to simulate, monitor, and predict oceanic phenomena in real time. Leveraging cutting-edge technology, this digital twin would integrate vast amounts of data from satellites, sensors, and other sources to create a comprehensive, dynamic model of the ocean's current state and future trends. Examples of benefits for digital twins for ocean sustainability are across 4 thematic areas: reducing and preventing overfishing, predicting marine pollution, adapting to climate change, and promoting marine spatial planning. Digital twins are virtual representations of living and non-living entities. They exist as computer-simulated models. The cyber and physical are couples. Changes that occur in the physical real-world objects, e.g. the biotic and abiotic components of the estuaries, coral reefs, or the deep sea, are modifying their virtual replicas, or twins, simultaneously and continuously. The digital twin would continuously gather data from a variety of sources, including buoys, underwater drones, satellites, and research vessels. This data would be fed into the model, allowing it to accurately represent the ocean's current conditions. By simulating oceanic processes, the digital twin could predict future conditions, such as the movement of ocean currents, the development of storms, or the spread of pollutions. This predictive capability would be invaluable for disaster preparedness, environmental protection, and maritime navigation. Marine pollution has emerged as a global emergency in recent decades as a hallmark of the Anthropocene. A plethora of toxic substances generated by human activities are increasingly introduced into marine environments at the risk of their permanent impairment. Plastic debris in oceans, coasts, and estuaries have gained somewhat of a prominence in this regard, but plastics are merely one pollutant in a long list of chemical elements and compounds, including hundreds of pesticides, antifoliants, pharmaceuticals, and heavy metals. Approximately 80% of contaminants originate inland, including septic tanks, automobiles, farms, ranches, and forested areas. This makes coastal pollution monitoring a priority, together with ocean-based industries, oil and gas operatives, which have been responsible for some of the most well-known pollutant events, including the Exxon Valdez oil spill in 1989 and the Deepwater Horizon oil spill in 2010. Digital twins can integrate multimodal data inputs, including those from close and remote sensing, to monitor runoff from coastal communities and cities, as well as industrial sewage, treatment plants, and drainage systems. With enough data, digital twins could alert on toxic effluents and plastics and their proximity to shallow water, coral reefs, and species. Digital twins could also be used to simulate the effects of extreme weather events on onshore oil and gas infrastructure, which is an ever-increasing risk. in the event of an oil spill, and coupled with oil transport models, which account for tidal currents and local wind forecasts, digital twins could provide a near real-time platform to run what-if scenarios if there are oil slick movements. Digital twins may promote our understanding of regulation of underwater noise pollution, which can be detrimental for marine species that rely on acoustic sensors for orientation and communication. This is becoming an increasingly recognized pollution domain, and digital twins, such as space whales, are able to visualize sensor data on noises emitted by ships and seismic surveys with data on species distribution. Using this data, we can then advise on optimal course plotting to minimize noise disturbances and support new frameworks such as the EU's new limits on noise pollution. The implications of climate change for marine ecosystem integrity is an area that has been heavily researched. Studies span from shifting ocean temperature, circulation, stratification, nutrient input, oxygen content, acidification, and ocean species abundance and distribution. Marine geoengineering is a particularly contested area of investigation. This involves manipulating natural processes and habitats to counteract anthropogenic climate change and its impacts. Examples include iron fertilization to boost the growth of primary producers, artificial upswelling to reduce sea surface temperature, and seaweed cultivation and alkalization to absorb carbon. We could see virtual estuaries, coral reefs, and mangroves forests emerge, promising to promote adaptation, but it could also result in unintentional harm. Real-time virtual replicas of marine environments would allow public and private stakeholders to simulate various planning scenarios and determine which human activity aligns best with biodiversity conservation before interfering with the physical system. Digital twins could bring with it a new area of nature-inclusive marine construction, such as promoting coupled offshore wind farms and fish farms, whilst accommodating artificial reef structures. Infrastructure, climate conditions, noise pollution, and invasive species proliferation potential could be analysed until an optimal location can be found. Ideally, these digital twins would be highly detailed and all-encompassing, but setting them up would be a massive undertaking, which is largely impractical. There are 66 large marine ecosystems, which are defined as coastal areas spanning 200,000 kilometres squared or more, where productivity is high and where 90% of the world's fish are taken. And so, creating digital twins to support their conservation and management of these zones is a priority and a more realistic effort. For these to really work, we need to bridge the gaps in scientific understanding and collected data on the many physical, biological, and chemical disciplines in oceanography. Present-day satellites lack the ability to measure geostrophic currents over 100 kilometres, which is key to our understanding of currents and coastal dynamics. The French Space Agency has launched a satellite that can measure currents of 20 kilometres. However, we do need more sophisticated technology to measure currents of 1 kilometre. The deep sea will forever be a mystery. Starting at waters deeper than 200 metres, where light begins to dwindle, this is a home for many organisms that we've not yet met. Here, processes like biological carbon pumping and nutrient cycling are taking place, yet it faces the same threats of temperature changes, ocean acidification, and pollution. We lack baseline measurements for essential properties and biogeochemical processes in the deep ocean, particularly in hard-to-reach areas like the Arctic deep sea. Only 7% of the global ocean surface is monitored, with much of South America, Africa, Eastern Europe, and Asia coastlines are monitored. It is believed that up to 2/3 of marine species are yet to be discovered. Due to lower sampling in tropical zones, spatial distribution analysis of 35,000 species indicated that there was an absence near the equator. This kind of sampling bias would limit the precision of virtual fisheries and the ability of other models to inform decisions. There are a number of potential applications, such as maritime navigation. Shipping companies could use the digital twin to optimize routes, avoid hazards, and reduce fuel consumption. Ocean-based industries spend $3 billion on marine data per year, but commercial competition and conflicting interests has a tendency to overshadow common good interests. As discussed in the event of an oil spill or a natural disaster, the digital twin could provide real-time data to guide response efforts and minimize environmental damage. However, oil companies do fear that the data would be used against them as a proof of their negligence. And to conclude, the ocean's digital twin represents a transformative leap in our ability to understand and manage the world's oceans. By providing a detailed, real-time simulation of oceanic conditions, this technology has the potential to revolutionize ocean science, support sustainable development, and enhance our stewardship of the planet's most vital research. And that's a word. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you liked it, give it a like. If you're not yet subscribed, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell because new episodes come out every Tuesday and I don't want you to miss a thing. Thanks for tuning in and I'll see you next week. Goodbye.